Hello and welcome to this episode of the Fernando Deveras Show. If this is your first time here, my name is Fernando Deveras, and on this channel I talk about things that are happening in the community, in the culture, in politics, and try to break it down in a way that hopefully helps people to make sense of things that are happening in our world. And for today's episode, I actually wanted to play an interview for y'all that I recently did with two good friends of mine, Steve Kim from Project Kinship and Samuel Lazalde from Neutral Ground. For those who don't know, Project Kinship and Neutral Ground are two organizations based here in Orange County that work with young people and adults who have been impacted by things like gangs, drugs, violence, and incarceration. Both organizations work to provide opportunities and programming for people who have been formerly incarcerated, and they also provide mentoring programs for young people in our community. If you're at all familiar with the work of Father Greg Boyle and Homeboy Industries out in LA, it's very much in the same spirit of the work that they do. And in this talk, Sam and Steve share a bit about their stories, the lessons that they've learned through the work that they do, what families in our community need, and what we can be doing collectively to help those families out. So without further ado, here's my conversation with Steve Kim and Sam Lazalde. I want to say thank you to both of you for meeting with us here today to have this conversation. And I take a lot of inspiration from the work that y'all do. And the way that you step up to help the youth in our community, the way you use your stories to empower the community too, letting them know that it's okay to come from whatever kind of background we come from, grow from that, and then give back to the community. So thank you both for being here. I want to give y'all a chance to introduce yourself, just your name, your title, the organization, and a little bit about the work that you do. So, Steve, let's start with you.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Good to be here with you too, Sam. Steve Kim, Executive Director of Project Kinship, and we've been around 11 years, and we've grown. We started with 2 people, and now today we're at 150 people, 24/7 at the county jails. 36 schools, 6 districts, and inside and outside juvenile hall, and we moved into this building here. But what I'm super proud of is that we hire the community, serve the community, and so I think about 150 people, like 40% formerly incarcerated, and as many of you may know, a lot of those folks will not be able to get jobs outside of here with beautiful talent that is not utilized, and so I think that's a big barrier we've been working to progress. And so I think that's been good for us. About 95% people of color and 100% people of color in executive leadership. And we're just running to serve the community. And 100% of our people come through our place with complex trauma. And for us, we didn't think it was trauma, it's just how we grew up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But we learned how to survive, and we want to give people an opportunity to have that space to feel safe and to heal. And so I think the main thing that we do, we have a lot of programming, case management, therapy, peer navigation, lived experience, employment, a lot of those things. I feel like we've created a community of healing and transformation. And we know that when people heal and transform, they don't go back to prison and jails, right? They not only don't go back to prison and jails, they begin to transform generations in their own families. Mm-hmm. And so we're all traumatized out, right? Like we know what trauma is now a little bit better, but we're focused on healing. We want to know what healing looks like.
Yeah, and the cities, what cities are you covering with PK right now?
We're primarily in Santa Ana right here, mm-hmm. But we go the whole county. Obviously there's other cities that we're not in, but we're probably, I think, in 12 cities right now, but it depends on the programming, but we serve the whole county.
Gotcha. Thank you, brother. And then Sam, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, Samuel Lazalde. I'm a transplant into Orange County. Grew up out in Pacoima, northeast, like San Fernando Valley. Came over here end of 2020, just before 21. So there was still like COVID kind of lockdowns, policies, and so came over here actually through being connected with the executive director of Neutral Ground. I had been connected with him, Mr. Nati Alvarado, since 2015, back when I was in graduate school. He gave me an opportunity to come over and help him lead his organization. We contract with Santa Ana Unified, Anaheim Unified, Tustin, and then actually just started over partnering with Fontana Unified. Largely kind of based in youth services, so gang prevention, gang intervention with our school partnerships. We partner with the city governments here, Santa Ana and Anaheim, for gang prevention, gang intervention, and then most recently has been like my biggest project has been contract with our congressional district, what I coined as youth violence prevention. And so that way I would have kind of a wider net. Really what it is, it's gang intervention, but kept the term in there, prevention, so that we can work with more of our kids from our schools.
Yeah, and that part of the reason that we initially reached out to both of you to have this conversation was because, you know, we've always had issues in the schools with violence, with gang violence. You know, it's I'm sure that you guys have seen like the evolution from like the 90s to today, how things have evolved, but we've seen a lot of uptick, especially in our city with recent stabbings and shootings and things like that. And so, you know, we'll talk a little bit more about, you know, specifically the youth component and later on, but I also wanted to hear from you guys in terms of people who are watching might not know your stories, right? And, you know, if you're watching, if you want to learn more about them, there's plenty of podcast interviews y'all have done on YouTube, so please go check all that out. But if you can just like briefly touch on what was your early experiences, whether it's, you know, with the criminal justice system, with gangs, with drugs, whatever it was, that kind of led you to this kind of work that you're doing today. So, Stan, you want to start off?
Man, I do this with our kids when we do circles, when I'm first getting to open up and get to know them. Yeah. So I have them, coach them into giving me like the elevator pitch, their story, their narrative. And so myself, first generation immigrant family. So my parents were born in Mexico. I was the first one born here in the States. And so that, being the first one here, I'm brought into lower income, lower socioeconomic area and pocket of LA that, like much of LA, is gang impacted, going back to the 50s and the 60s. And so my father, my uncles, my cousins, both sides of my family, formerly gang involved, almost like a rite of passage. It's what I fell into as a young man. Juvenile hall, camps, turned 18 as the state recognized me as an adult. And so now I'm hitting county jail. I come out, and this is what I'm now I've accepted as this is my life. This is who I am, what I am. And 2 blocks from my house, I get shot through the face. And fortunate to be here today to live past that, through that. But that's when my wheels first started to spin, and got me to see and view things a little differently. Still went back to the neighborhood, did all the same things for a whole nother year, and my epiphany came when I was hanging out at the park. I didn't have a job. I have a new scar on my face, and I'm with a couple of my boys, and I look over at my boys, and I was with a 12 and a 13-year-old, and that's when my light turned on. And I wanted to do everything that I could do to change it, to shift it.
You said that you're sitting down with like this 12-year-old, 13-year-old, and you're hanging out. Like, what was it about that moment specifically that made you be like, okay, I gotta do something different?
The space that I was holding there with them, like who I was to them, and feeling like, like responsible. They were there at the park that day, at that time, not in school, because I was there. And I never wanted to feel that again.
Yeah, and then from there you went on to...
Oh man, yeah.
Like the whole, but that's like the early point where you're like, all right, I gotta start changing course.
Yeah, that's when my light turned on. I was fortunate in that I had mentors, people in my life that helped point the way. Went to school, community college, university, got into City of LA's Gang Reduction Youth Development Program, and learned to do all of what I'm doing today.
I wish we had more time to like unpack all these things, and both y'all could write books with your whole story, so thank you for sharing that little bit. And for you, Steve, like again, you had a long career doing this kind of work, but before you got into any kind of intervention work, what was going on in your life that led you down this way?
Yeah, you know, I always say my early childhood, and you know, when you're a kid, you don't realize you go through a lot of trauma. But for me, this also
Can I pause you?
yeah,
Because
of course.
we use that word trauma, and I feel like for some people, it's like a new vocabulary. Can you explain that? What do you mean when you say trauma?
Well, I think for me, when I think about early childhood trauma, it's the things that happen to you that stay with you for your entire life. Things that, you know, no kid should have to see or experience. All the things that affect somebody from growing up in a healthy way. I mean, I know what that is now because of my kids, but when I was younger, I didn't really have that. You know, it just wasn't how we grew up. For example, you know, I tell my kids now to use your words, right? But back then, you couldn't use your words, because then if you cry, they're gonna give you something to cry about. You know, and and you talk with violence, right? Because you were met with violence, and you become schooled in that way of thought to survive. You know, because for me, the trauma was, as a kid, I grew up in an all Latino neighborhood, but I was the only Asian kid at that time. You know, and I was like this tall with a bowl haircut, chubby, and
What were the nicknames?
well, Chino, of course, you know. But I remember walking out, they'd be like Chino, Japonés, you know, or like, but you know, kids, you don't know, you got to adapt, you know. But at that time, you're trying to hang out. I remember one time I would be riding my bike, and the kids train their dog to chase you. And in elementary school, I'm riding my bike, and my foot slips the pedal. You know how the spikes on the pedal hit my knee, yeah. And I fell over. But the crazy thing was, the dogs were chased to attack. So as a kid, it's biting my leg. I'm crying, you know. And then the kids come and they go out in a circle and they're just spitting on you. And people are walking by, and it's like, you know. And then, then what happens is that there's like pain where when you're a kid and you experience pain, one way to help that pain is if you have help right after. If somebody says, "Hey, mijo, are you okay?" and they pick you up and they give you that but there's a different type of pain that many of our kids experience when you're crying out for help and nobody comes. And that's a different type of pain. Because then, in that situation, you can only cry so long and lay there for so long. After however long, you got to get up. So nobody comes and you get up. And you're like, but in your mind, that trauma starts thinking like, well, does my life hold any value? You know? And then as a kid, like everybody wants to belong, right? Everyone wants to belong. And long story short, I started hanging out with the neighborhood kids. They started letting me hang out, but I learned a lot of things, you know. But what I did was I got belonging, you know, and it was cool. I got raised up, and a lot of stuff I learned then is helped me now as an adult, just like how we grew up, right?
Well, let me ask you, like you're saying you're hanging out with the neighborhood kids and you're learning things. Like obviously there's positive, negative. What are just like generally, what are some of the things that you were learning?
The first thing I learned is I'm gonna take your bike before you take my bike. I'm gonna be with the guys to beat you up, because I ain't trying to get beat up. I ain't trying to be that one. You know what I mean? Like, and you learn a lot, you know, and you learn the tools necessary to survive in that environment as a young kid. But what happens is that I think that's all trauma and pain, and our communities are beautiful with everything, all of that, because we know how to support each other and have each other's back. And you grew up with what you have, right? You grew up, somebody said one kid goes to Harvard, one kid goes to prison, same family. What happened? Well, somebody told me one time that everyone reach out for your hand, it's the first hand you grab. Maybe that one brother grabbed a school counselor, goes into this program. Maybe the other one was an older homie that gave you shoes, that gave you money to feed your brother. Like, you're going to go with that, you know? Embrace you, give you a nickname, like, you're going to go with that. But I think, for me, long story short, like, I was carrying that pain, and like we see a lot, right? Like, Sammy, you're sharing, and I know you do the work, like, we see a lot, you know. But for me, in my 20s, I tried meth, and that was my thing, man. For me, it did something to me.
Yeah.
And then I ended up homeless in Anaheim on Beach Boulevard, not like shopping cart homeless, but like motel homeless. And then you learn a lot there too, right? Like. You know,
it's its own ecosystem.
It's own ecosystem, you know. And long story short, got incarcerated, went to county, had a baby. We named her Hope because we didn't have any hope, and it was all bad, man. Like, destroyed my life, and just it is what it is, right? But then, you know, I have a faith background too. You know, last time I was in county, that was a jailhouse prayer. Like God, like I don't have nothing to offer you, but you know, if you could, you know, help a brother out, appreciate it pretty much. And I believe that God answered my prayer, you know, in my most vulnerable state. And I literally, in 2000, had the opportunity to go to the Salvation Army rehab, finished there. Then I couldn't find a job because you have a record, it's expunged now, but you have a record, you have to get a job. There's systemic structure set into place where people who've been incarcerated on records can't fully participate in society in the equal way. Had to find different ways. Found a way to get back on the education track. Went to UCI, met some great people. Then ended up at USC. And then during that time, I came across Homeboy Industries. Saw Father Greg, met all the great people over there. And in 2014, had a chance to start Project Kinship.
I was going to say too, like, you know, I know that when I talked with Sam last time about his story, you mentioned too, like, education was one of those key things that really stepped in to help create a path where you're like, okay, I was going this route, now this is my way out. And then also just like the sociology courses that we take and psychology courses that we take that give you that vocabulary, give you that understanding of what was happening, why was it happening, why was I doing what I'm doing, why are the people around me doing what I'm doing. So I feel like that's something I want to dig into with both of you, doing the work that you do, having heard the conversations that you've heard, working with the people that you work with. Like, we know that there's always underlying needs that are trying to be met, right? People don't just do things to do them. They're doing them because they're trying to scratch some kind of itch. So from the experiences that you've had, like, what are some of those basic needs that you feel like, particularly for our youth, right? If we see our youth are going down this route, using drugs, going into gangs, getting into fights, what are some of those needs that you feel like they're trying to meet? And how are these kinds of coping strategies, these behaviors, how are those meeting those needs for them?
Yeah, that's it's loaded. Safety, belonging in the little box that is the neighborhood. That defines safety and belonging for you. And so I know for myself, it was that group, right? The gang, the neighborhood. That encapsulated safety and belonging. I didn't need to find it anywhere else. It was right there, it was immediate, and it filled that gap for me. In it, yeah, you're getting the friendships, right? The social groups. Folks are finding love there. You're getting all those needs met there. Things of like monetary value, all of it's being met there until it's not.
Well, I feel like it's a trade-off too, right?
Yeah.
Because you're gonna have some of those things that you wanted, and they might be warped versions. Like you're saying, like you're gonna find love.
Yeah.
I know that when you're a teenager in those kinds of spaces, not maybe the best kind of love. It's not the healthiest kind of love.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, like there's that trade-off. What do you feel like is the negative side of that trade-off? Like you said, they're finding safety, they're finding companionship. What are those downsides that maybe the kids aren't factoring in?
Oh my gosh! I mean, it's what we know. It's drug addiction. It's incarceration. It's death.
Steve, you wanna?
Yeah, Sam said it beautifully. You know, I think safety is one, belonging, community. The difference is there's conditions.
Yeah.
You know? There's conditions, and it's one false move and you're out. And so, in the work that we do, all of us, it has to be unconditional.
Yeah.
That you know, we remind people of their worth, and people think love is a soft word, and it's only soft if you've never experienced the type of love we're talking about. It's one that is sacrificial, one that is eternal, one that has no conditions. Right? You love radically, and that's hard to do, you know. And I think that the life on the streets, it serves a purpose. That's why we don't tell kids to get out of gangs. But there's conditions.
Yeah.
And once false move and you can be out.
And love gets twisted in kind of like a perverse sense. Yeah. What I meant, you know, and finding that there. It wasn't like romantic love. It's you know, it's love for belonging, for your boy, for my homie who gets shot next to me.
Yeah, well, I think like what Steve was saying, like, does someone give a shit about me? Does someone care about me?
Yeah.
If I'm on the floor hurt and crying and nobody's coming to me, there's no love there.
Yeah.
But if I got someone that's gonna pick me up and say, let's go get him,
Yeah.
that's love. You know? The other thing I wanted to ask both of you about, because anytime we see incidents happen in the community, whether it's like a fight broke out, someone got killed, whatever it is, especially if it's young people, you always see people in the social media comments, where are the parents? The parents need to go to jail. Pointing the finger saying, parents' fault. And we always stress too, like there's definitely that responsibility. We want to make sure that parents are showing up for their kids as much as possible. But we also factor in, like, there's context and there's conditions, like we were talking about, that make it harder for some families to meet the needs of their kids. And if we're just pointing the finger at the parents all the time, we're going to be missing those deeper conversations. So what are some of those things that you see that the families struggle with that make it hard for them to show up for their kids the way that we want them to show up?
Yeah, that's super layered. We all have heard the saying, I think, especially in the spaces that we've been in, like, hurt people hurt people. And our families are hurt. And in our families being hurt, we have fathers who are hurt, mothers who are hurt. And because of their hurt, we have fractured families, absent fathers, absent mothers. And that hurts their children. Their kids who are seeking belonging elsewhere outside of the family unit because it's again absent. It's not there, and so they're seeking it in these other groups with other boys, other girls who are also hurt from their broken families, their broken homes, and so you have fractured communities with all these broken homes, with all these kids who are broken, seeking to mend themselves amongst themselves, not knowing how, hurting each other while they're doing it.
That's a lot of the work that we try to do,
Yeah.
is unpack those conversations. If you are operating out of those wounds and you're unconscious of those wounds, number one, you're not going to be able to do anything to heal them, but number two, you're going to be passing that pain down to whoever you're in circles with. Steve, did you want to add?
Yeah, that's good. I mean, first thought that came to mind is it's always going to be easy to judge from a distance. So when you say those parents, aren't doing A, B, C, and D, those parents should. But when I hear that, I wonder how close they are to the work. And it's easy to say from a distance and from a TV screen, or I'm old, so this thing, right? It's easy to say that. But once you get close to those people, the name of the game is those people become our people.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And when it becomes our people, then it becomes more personal. Like, you wouldn't leave your family member probably to be in that space. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of things, right? All the stuff Sam talked about. There's structural things that we could create to help families in need. There's counsel. There's a lot of things available. There's a mom that we met. We've been working with their child, and got shot and passed away at the hospital down the street. And it was like 2 a.m. And I went, and there was these two guys, like, that someone from the neighborhood, and two guys, like, super clean cut with backpacks on. And I was tripping out, and I'm like, who are these guys? Like, you stand out. And they were just standing there. I was like, I was judging them, I was like, I go, you know where you're at, like, in my mind. But the doctor and the police officer went to tell the family that their son had passed. And, the mom ran out, family was just crying and weeping, obviously, like, and I'm like trying to find the words, but I didn't know what to say. And I just, like, at 2:30 in the morning, I was like, oh man, like, and the two kids, like, just springing in motion. They take their backpacks, they walk up to the family, and they're like, I'm so sorry, and they give them Kleenex. I'm so sorry. And even at that point, I'm like, what are you guys doing? Like, and then to my surprise, they were, like, being comforted. Thank you. I took the Kleenex, and they were like, so I'm judging these kids, not know what to do. They go into action without saying much, offering Kleenex, just standing with them. So for me, in all that we do, you don't want to try to save people. You want to serve them, but in every circumstance, you want to stand with people.
Yeah.
You want to stand with people and see them, and if you can start there, we'll all get a better answer on how to help those people.
I know that we're all like students to one way or another of Father Greg Boyle, and that's like key
That's
to
G.
his philosophy, right?
As G says.
Stand by the demonized so that the demonizing stops. And I think that's something else. Again, like when we talk about like the societal values, the structural issues, I think what Steve said, like there's so much isolation. We're disconnected from each other. We don't know each other, and so MLK said we hate each other because we fear each other. We fear each other because we don't know each other. So I feel like that's something else that I really appreciate the work that y'all do. I was talking with Sam earlier about some of the mediation that you do, where it's just this group of boys has beef with this group of boys, and we just need to find a way to sit you down so that you could see each other as human beings.
Yeah, we're the same.
Yeah.
So can you talk a little bit about that? Like, what does that process look like, helping people to see each other as human again?
There's a lot of storytelling. Storytelling, like getting our kids, our youth, our young people, whether it's at our school campuses or at the neighborhood park, to realize, to see that this other that they're creating in their minds and their heads, it's them. It's themselves. They can hold a mirror up and Billy, his family, the makeup of his family is just like mine. I grew up with my grandfather raising me. Billy's growing up with his grandpa. His dad's not around. Getting our youth to kind of to build on their empathy, their ability to see one another for who they are. It can be with like a mediation, like I was explaining to you earlier at one of our schools, prepping the kids, getting them to kind of understand that we're going to sit with this other group. What the underlying intention is to sit with this other group and see that these kids are saying the same jokes you're saying. Actually, even just sitting across from each other, or we're wearing the same shoes. We speak the same language, and so in practicing that, my underlying like hope and intention is for them to be able to build on that empathy for each other, to see each other.
I do also think there's high value in bringing people with lived experience to the table to bring. We've been calling.
Elaborate on that, because again, like terms like lived experience, some people heard it. What do you mean by that?
Yeah, I mean everyone has lived experience. In this context, I'm talking about folks who grew up in the neighborhoods, folks who've experienced gangs, incarceration, violence, subculture of gangs, understanding, how to bridge gaps with young populations who are active in similar circumstances. So somebody who brings that knowledge now becomes a mentor and sometimes elder, right, depending how long and how old they are. So I believe that bringing folks with that type of lived experience in this work is high value, right? And I think that Orange County has come a long way of first cracking the door open. Been knocking, but cracked the door open. So now it's open, not wide open, but we're making progress. It's fairly new on being at the table, and I think that's super important to recognize that is a expertise that's brought into the work that helps with the intervention work that's going on.
Yeah, 100% agree. And like you said, I think when those people are brought to the table, number one, they can bring that experience so other people can relate, but number two, they're going to have that context to point directions to people like, hey, this is what I was struggling with. So how can we address this so that it doesn't happen to somebody else? Like you said, the fact that they're investing in that kind of stuff, that's great. I know we're low on time, and then we got to get it, but I want to ask just one last question. We're looking for solutions. We have things like what you guys do with gang prevention, gang intervention work, building those relationships in the community. I want to just ask, what are some things that you would recommend? Like, you're president for the day, you're king for the day. Where else do you think we need to be investing our money? Where else do we need to be investing our, not even just money, but like people power and resources? Where should people be putting their energy? So, I'll give one example for me. I know that housing is like a big one. Like if you can get families stable housing, where they don't have to worry about where they're going to live next year, where they don't have to worry about if there's mold or leaks or roaches or rats in the apartment. They're going to be able to sleep. They're going to be able to feel that sense of security and that some stability that they have in their life, right, to build from. It's like, again, we're not asking to fix every problem, but just like from what you've seen, what are like maybe 2 things that families need right now so that they can help their kids stay out of that kind of trouble?
If our target, I can like label it, is like deviance in our kids, leading to gangs and violence, ultimately violence. It's what Steve touched on just earlier, and like who he's choosing to build up as his team, as his staff. That is like meso level like intervention. You're providing someone with a role, with identity, with a job, that helps them redefine who they are, and so that redefines them to their community, and then now you have leaders in these different pockets of the community that are helping to lead our youth a different way,
a different path. Example.
Yeah, yeah.
And Steve, again, I know it's a big question.
Yeah.
What's something that comes to mind for you?
I mean, I would just say we have to invest in community-based orgs.
Yeah.
You know, along with everything you're all saying, employment, housing, you know, mental health services, everything, you know, food scarcity, all of that. I think that community-based orgs need investment, right? Need investment to be healthy. I do think that there's too much division amongst community-based orgs, and maybe it's a structural thing. Maybe it's structured in a way where there's too much infighting, right? And so community has to recognize we're stronger together. You will always win if you're together, and we invest in community-based orgs. This work is way beyond us, right? And if it becomes about us, we have to check ourselves.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what we want to leave for the generation coming after us, right? So we need investment in community-based orgs. We know what we're doing, you know. We know what we're doing. Maybe not 100%, but we know what we're doing. You know, we need support to keep at it. You know, we do work well with systems, right? Access to systems, and I think being able to have that working relationship for the goal to help people, right? For help people, that's what we should be doing. Last year I said, you know, I was talking to my mom, and goes to, you know, she wanted to give me help, and last year she was telling me, she said, you know, Steve, when you were in trouble, I went up to your room and got your old clothes, and when I was on the street, she said, I would go from church to church asking pastors to pray over your clothes. I don't know what happened, but I imagine my old mom going from church to church. Maybe some people prayed for her, maybe some people laughed at her, I don't know, but we need all entities to be able to make sure no mom's running around, you know, this county or any county in desperation for help, and I believe community-based orgs are the solution.
Well, thank you both. I want to just give y'all the final word. If there's anything that you want to share with the community, let people know where they can find you, how they can support the work that y'all are doing.
Yeah, Neutral Ground. We're here also based in Orange County. Largely Santa Ana and Anaheim. Look us up on our website. You can email us at info@ngservices.org. Look us up on Instagram. Send us a DM.
Yeah, projectkinship.org. Check us out, and my peeps always tell me to say give us a like on Instagram. So. I mean, I don't know, hook us up right there. That'd be cool, you know? And so, hey, we're going to check where we are right now, and after this place, we're going to see how much we go higher. So, show us some love.
Show us.